I'm Alicia.
And I'm Maddie.
And welcome to the Fangirl Diaries, a podcast where we talk about our obsessions,
Reminisce about our teen icons,
and explore the books, movies, and shows that made us the incredibly nerdy 30-somethings that we now are.
Hello.
And welcome to another episode of the Fangirl Diaries, with me, Alicia, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Maddie, the indisputable Good Witch of the North.
What are we talking about, Alicia?
Oh my goodness. I was actually just going to say how it took me all of the journey on the A3 to try and really wrestle with which of us was which of those witches. And it got very complicated, but I decided on those in the end. It may be unsurprising to learn that we are talking about Wicked, the musical phenomenon, today.
Dun, 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 dun.
I was wondering who was going to crack first.
Sorry.
And do that. I normally, just for the listeners, have about an hour's drive down to Maddie's house, which I did today, and absolutely had the... I'm just a quintessential old person, so had the CD, because my car is old and plays CDs, the CD soundtrack playing the entire way. And, you know, heaven forbid, the poor people who were stopped next to me at a roundabout. I mean, I had the windows down. I was, you know, yelping along to the various songs. But yes, we are talking about Wicked, the musical. It took us about 5 seconds when we were initially discussing what was going to be on this podcast to both agree that we had to do this one.
One of our biggest obsessions of our teenage years, absolutely.
Absolutely, without question. And I would also say one that I know we've both revisited on repeat. Like, this isn't something we were obsessed with and left.
No. I still love it.
How many times have you seen the show?
Oh, I don't think I could give you an exact number. Maybe like 7 or 8?
Yep. Mine's 9.
Okay.
Yep. So this really hasn't been, this has never not been a thing, I think, for either of us. And I will do my due diligence in a minute by going through a synopsis and, although I really think, you know, if you've not seen this show, alert. We should do like a spoiler alert. There's going to be some spoilers.
I mean, if you've not seen it, like, just
what are you
pause
doing?
This, go see it, and then come listen to it after.
Yes, if you've not seen it, think about your actions immediately. Book a ticket. Not hard to do. It's on in London. But first, so important, as Maddie said, was this in our lives, that I wanted to revisit our first encounters with this. Maddie,
Yes.
do you remember when you first saw Wicked, the musical?
Yes. I remember that it had been on Broadway and there was some hype around it then. And it came to London in September of 2006.
Yep.
And we knew that the originator of the role of Elphaba, who at that time would have been not well known to us, was going to be performing in London for just the first 3 or 4 months, September to December.
Mm-hmm. And who was that?
It was the incredible, the ultimate musical theatre performer, Idina Menzel.
It was.
It was.
And when, like, do you remember, like, sitting down in the Victoria Apollo for the first time? Do you remember who you went with? Because, funnily enough, it wasn't with me.
It wasn't. And it wasn't with my parents either, because we took them
Yes, we did.
to Idina Menzel's last performance, and that was the first time they saw Wicked. That's the last time Idina Menzel ever performed that role, and it was the first time my parents ever saw the show. They must have been so confused by the reactions. Anyway, I think I probably most likely went with Sophie.
I think you did.
As a kind of fellow theatre goer, kind of like, we would go to things together. We were like obsessed with musicals, and would have kind of signed up for this like new thing and been like, right, we're going to go. So who did you go with?
I went with Andrew.
Did you?
I did.
Is that the first trip?
That was the first trip. This is a little bit of a sad subplot in my teenage life, but it I remember it fondly because actually it's not the themes aren't absent from this musical. So it's almost semi-poetic. For those that don't know, Andrew was one of my desperate teenage loves, unrequited, of course. And he, for his 16th birthday, so we were in year 11 at the time, I think it was.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, we were in year 11. We were about 15 or 16 ourselves. Oh, actually, it was a birthday of Andrew's. And he was allowed to take one friend to see this new hit musical.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the call up for that and me thinking, that's it. He loves me. That's it. This is it. I remember what I wore to that show. I remember us both crying in the interval.
Oh.
The listeners and Andrew won't mind me openly saying that Andrew was, of course, gay. And that, my little teenage heart didn't realise. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But we adored it together. And Andrew and I went subsequent times as well, which was amazing. But I remember watching, I'm Not That Girl, the unrequited love song of the show, and thinking, this is so relevant. This is so relevant. So at its heart, this is quite a teenage show.
I actually have a little anecdote to add about that song, which is that I used to play the piano sheet music version of Wicked. I had the little booklet that's kind of simplified down so that, at a reasonable piano level you can play it. But even still, it was quite difficult. It was quite a difficult book. And so, the only one that I could play well was that song because it's quite slow, it's quite straightforward, it's a bit lyrical, it's fine. And I remember my mum coming up to me one time and saying, you keep playing that song over and over again. I wonder, is that how you feel about yourself? She was really worried that I'd internalized this teenage sadness about not being the girl that anybody loved, and that's why I was repeatedly playing it. When in fact it was just because it was the only one I could actually play.
I think we have so much to talk about in terms of the teenage themes.
Yeah.
Because this show spoke to us at that moment. When we think about when we look at these things on Fangirl Diaries, we're fundamentally looking back at things that came out at a moment where something about them resonated with us. And when I was thinking about this earlier, Act 1 of the show is almost a high school musical in some way. And Act 2 is very much a more adult setting. So just to very briefly do a synopsis although, as we said, you have been warned. If you haven't bought a ticket, do so now and look away. Wicked is the musical, where it's by Winnie Holtzman and Stephen Schwartz. It has starred various iterations of casts over the years, but most famously Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, who really originated the two key female roles. It's very much a female-led show. It is about the two witches who they do not star, they feature in the famous The Wizard of Oz. And that is Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, and what we learn to be called Elphaba, who becomes cast as the Wicked Witch of the West, or in certainly some people's language, the Green One, if they've not watched the show properly. And these two, essentially young women at the time, meet at college or at university, Shiz University. And the musical is, and I wrote this down earlier, I'm quite pleased with this, a revisionary prequel. So it's set in the time just before the events that take place in The Wizard of Oz. So it's set in Oz, but it's before Dorothy lands in the tornado. And what we get to see as an audience is, how did Glinda and Elphaba become the Good Witch of the North and the Wicked Witch of the West? Are these labels accurate? Are they useful? Is there an element of scapegoating, typecasting? There's a very political element to this show. And it follows their friendship, fundamentally. It is the quintessential enemies to lovers, except that it's friendship at the end. It's platonic love. that these two women have. And that is effectively the 2.5 hours of the show. With a couple of interesting side characters thrown in.
Yeah.
But that is fundamentally it. And if that sounds like you want to go and see it, tell Madeline and I, because we're obviously down to go 10 more times. But Madeline, when you saw it, and we had almost started to talk about this, what did it tap into for you? Why did this hit like so hard at the time that it did?
Well, I think it is that that kind of theme of friendship being right at the forefront, and being particularly female friendship. I guess maybe since then we kind of like don't remember like quite how long ago this was. Like in the US, it came out in 2003 when it was written, and I think there weren't so many big pop culture things that really did focus on women's friendships in that kind of way. I think since then, at least for young people, since then we've had things like Frozen and Sisters and all that, and I think it's become more common, but I think it was quite revolutionary to see something that was really focused on those two women and their whole stories. And also in particular how like two people who essentially were like that cared about each other, who loved each other, as you said, but ultimately ended up in very different places in life due to like their perspectives on the world, due to their differences in how they're perceived out externally as well, could end up like really being important to each other, but looking from the outside like really, really different. It kind of like, it was really, and I think it felt really political. It dealt a lot with actually with kind of racism in many different ways, in terms of her being green, and there's this whole plot around the animals being persecuted, which is a big deal, and it felt much deeper and more meaningful than anyone I think expected when they went in.
Definitely.
They kind of like had this expectation of it being, oh, it's a fun retelling of The Wizard of Oz, ha ha ha, but actually is much, much more serious than you think it's going to be.
It gives you so much that I'm always glad that the interval, I think, is maybe deliberately quite long, because I certainly at the end of Act 1, and it's not just because we end on defying gravity, which quite literally like blows your eyeballs out of your head.
Yeah.
But you almost need to take a minute and go, while we get our drinks at the bar, can we discuss the 90,000 layers of this musical that it absolutely has? But I think you were right about the female stars and the fact that it's this is an incredible musical score for two female vocalists. And just as you were saying that, I was thinking, gosh, you're right, because you had effectively male stars in Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables, Jesus Christ Superstar. Love the character of Fiyero. But he's
not that important.
He's not. He deliberately takes a bit of a backseat to these two women, and it very cleverly inverts the idea of women fighting over this man and the love triangle, and that being the focus of the drama. It sort of looks at that and goes, but do you know what, people? That's not the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
So let's actually have the big love story be about the fact that we can move past our interaction with this guy.
Totally. Yeah.
And Fiyero is a little bit
redundant.
Sidelined. Oh, you've gone redundant. But when I was listening to it in the car, I thought, yeah, Dancing Through Life's catchy tune, and okay, no, I will have to reserve. We'll come to it. We'll have to talk separately about As Long As You're Mine.
Oh yeah.
But the absolute standout musical numbers are for the two women, and they tend to be the people that you go and see the show for. We always check the cast and look at, well, who's playing who, and what did they do before and things.
The other thing that I think really kind of makes it special and kind of keeps you engaged is that it is a retelling of a classic story, and there have been many retellings of classic stories, but it just kind of peppers those references in throughout the show enough where you go, oh yeah, we are in The Wizard of Oz. And it brings you back to that world, but you kind of, that's really not the important thing that it's about. And you got like Dorothy, you don't even like see her on the stage. There's like one reference to her right at the end, and that's pretty much it. She's like so unimportant, but yet the other pieces of the puzzle of how all the other characters come to be are kind of like written in and twisted into the storyline in like super clever way, enough that like every time you're like, oh, that's the lion, and that's the scarecrow, and oh my, the Tin Man, oh my goodness, and you just like, it all just comes together, and it's been written in such a clever way that it like keeps you on tenterhooks on that side of things as well. I really like it.
I think we should say you don't need to have seen The Wizard of Oz to enjoy this show. And yet, if you have, you do get these lovely little nods, these just really nice little moments, tiny little in-jokes that work really well.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, why did this get me? This show had so much in it that, you know, was like catnip to sort of 15 or 16-year-old me. Right from... This is going to sound so lame, but hey, that's what we're here for. It was immediately set at university. And I think we were just doing our GCSEs, about which we can say we cared deeply. And university was sort of this sparkly, shiny thing in the distance that we might get to go and do. And it was this like cool place. And I remember thinking, ooh, this is about people going to university. That's relevant to me. But... it was people with powers in a fantastical, magical setting. And as a deep fantasy nerd, it certainly had those elements for me. In fact, the safety curtain, do you remember, it was the map?
Yes.
So
with the big dragon like sitting on top of it.
I remember taking my seat at the Victoria Apollo, faced with this fantasy world map, and thinking, this is for me. The music hasn't even started, but this is for me. I can see you can see Munchkin Land, something realm, and the score was so powerful. The music is sensational. It has rocky elements of it. It's just like absolute bangers on this soundtrack. But fundamentally, it was about these women and this female friendship, and it had enough of a balance of sort of hormones, politics, popularity, powers. I don't know why I'm going with all P words. But all of these things that I just thought, I'll watch this again and again. This is so good.
I mean, I think actually the thing that brings me back in again and again, of course it's the emotion and the kind of the depth of the story, but you're right. The thing that makes me love it the most is the music. Mm-hmm. It is the music. And I, like, as a self-professed, like, complete obsessive of musical theatre, just, like, I think that emotion is just enhanced in every way by music. Just to me, the way that you, like, bring emotion into my body is through music. Like, a chord will send me into tears. And that's what happens in Wicked. It's, like, just all those memories just, like, flood back through these, like, incredible, just... these moments, these phrases, these chords that just like evoke every kind of like emotion at every single moment, whether that's the drama, whether that's the like hilarity of like Popular, and like just everything. It's just incredibly well written. Like it just is. And I think people see the billboards and like Times Square and just think, oh, that's just been on for ages, and they don't realise like, no, this has been on for 20 years because it is like excellently written. And yeah, I just think it's an incredible score and a great achievement.
And it has been on for 20 years. So which I didn't realise until we were doing the prep for this, that it had opened in 2003 on Broadway. That is frightening. I know that there is a nostalgic purpose to us doing these podcast episodes, but occasionally I am reminded of my own age. And I think, oh my goodness, this came out in 2003. Okay, it didn't get to London until 2006, which is really when it hit
our lives. Yeah.
When it hit our lives. But you're right, it has been on for so long because it's just indisputable quality.
I would probably give it I sometimes think about this when I think about musicals. I think like, what was the most iconic or like pivotal musical of a particular decade. And I would say that Wicked 100% fills that for the noughties. It is the musical of the noughties.
Yes. We could go through, and that's a tough era. Like there are some, if we really looked at that, there are some contenders, and we will do another episode about the quintessential musical of all different eras. Brilliant idea. And it should be said that Maddie and I were definitely self-declared musical nerds already. So we were primed for this. We met age 7 because we were in a musical.
Yes.
And then did nothing but that for years and years and years. But the other thing that I think makes Wicked the phenomenon that it is, like lots of phenomenons, is that it got people into musicals who I don't think were into musicals before. Some of our friends included. They got into this. This did something that if you hadn't seen a bajillion musicals like we had already, you loved this anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if it was the first of the kind of musicals that really hooked teenagers and kind of young adults, because now that's so common. There's like Six and Heathers and everything, and
Spring Awakening.
I wonder whether it was the first one that really kind of hooked our age group at the time, like 15-ish, and created that obsessive kind of culture around musicals.
Yeah, or certainly did it at scale. Like things like it did have a brief West End run, but things like Spring Awakening, which are otherwise so great for teenagers, were normally either like off Broadway or off West End or a student production or something where I wanted to see it, but I categorically didn't want my parents to see it. This could be billed as sort of family fun. Yeah. So everybody went. Yeah. And our poor parents, you're right, I dragged mine to this at least twice. Yeah. If not 3 times. I think they enjoyed it. And then we went. So we should talk about our level of obsession with this. So we had seen it separately. Do you remember when we went together and how we got those tickets?
Are you talking about what I called for probably a year or 2 later the greatest day of my life?
I am.
Yes, I am. I do remember this day in vivid detail.
What happened on that day?
Well, we went with the 2 of us, the aforementioned Andrew, and our other musical theatre friend, Tom.
Yes, we did.
We got up at ridiculous o'clock in order to get into London for, I don't know what time in the morning.
It was dark.
It must have been, hours before the box office opened at 10 or whatever, to queue up for day seats. So Wicked was one of the first musicals, actually, that did cheap day seats. So you had to turn up in the morning, get to the box office, and they reserved the front 2 rows, I think, of the theatre.
It was £10.
Yeah, £10. Nowadays, that would be like 25. Yeah.
We should say that a regular ticket was like £90 or something. It was a lot to
probably,
see
yeah. And
somewhere between,
And we queued up. There were already people there when we got there in the queue, but we like joined them and we were like, yeah, we're here for tickets for Wicked. We got to the front of the queue, and you want to know how many day seats were left? The front rows.
It was so tense.
1. There was 1 ticket left. Luckily, there were some other tickets that were like up in the gods right at the top that were also available. So we did manage to get 4 tickets. But then we had to like somehow decide between us who was going to get to sit on the front row.
And who was that?
It was me.
It was you. But you see, I think we'd either had a pre-chat or this just worked out excellently because I obviously wanted to sit with Andrew. So the ticket was yours.
True, yeah.
This was a done deal. We were
I remember there being
friends.
some kind of like voting system where we like worked it out. Anyway,
No,
I was very honoured, and this is probably the right time for me to mention my, and probably yours, but I especially feel it in my heart, deep obsession with Idina Menzel.
Oh, yes.
And I remember sitting on that front row and being like, I cannot believe that my idol, my love, my like, you know, the ultimate human in my eyes was going to be right there. And she was right there. And I was slightly to the side, and she was, you know, when you're on the front row, the stage is like just above your eye level. It's just there. So her feet were basically sitting right above my eye level. And vividly remember, those like intrusive thoughts you get when you like shouldn't do something. There's something you shouldn't do, but you really want to do it because your brain's going, you shouldn't like do this bad thing, but maybe you should do it. I just had this feeling where I was like, I'm going to grab her feet. I'm going to grab her feet. I was so close to grabbing Idina Menzel's feet. Luckily,
can I just say
I did not do that.
That day would have gone so differently if you had. If you had like
obviously I have control over my body, and so my brain doesn't control everything I do, but
it is interesting, that same sensation of that you were in the front row.
Yeah.
Because we will talk another time about our deep love for rock music, rock bands, and their various lead singers. But Idina Menzel was in that category to us.
Oh,
she was a
amazingly,
star.
Yeah.
For whom you would want to be in the front row and kind of be right there with her. And when you were telling that story, it's comparable to the many of these that you have about, Jared Leto Touch My Hand, or when you were at the front row for Kill Hannah, or all of these things. I think it evokes that same response. And that day only got better because what did we do after the musical?
I don't remember.
How do you not remember
What did we
this?
do? Oh, we went and got like signatures, which we did every time.
Yeah, but I mean, we talk about grabbing her feet. I think we physically grabbed her. I believe there's a video of you, Tom, and I. Andrew must have been filming it.
Yeah.
I think it's on YouTube to this day.
Oh my goodness.
Where we were just like, we've got this one chance. Let's just ask to hug her.
We were proper fangirls.
We were
real
such
fangirls.
Fangirls. We were. This is why we had to do this for this podcast. I mean, and the stage door itself. Bear in mind, this is a piece of musical theatre. It was like being at a rock concert or a premiere or the Oscars or something. You were elbowing people out the way.
They had the barriers up outside, so they
security.
had to walk along, and they could only like speak to each person one at a time. You brought your Sharpie so you could put it on the program.
Yes.
Oh.
It even had the people who who had like fake laminated posters that they just wanted a signature to sell on eBay.
Yeah.
And we were scandalised because we thought we're proper fans. And every time we went, we had a different piece of merchandise that we wanted signed, or just like our faces, or just whatever.
You know what I always felt at stage doors? I always felt really bad for all the people who are like in the chorus, and they have to come out the same door, and like you might or might not recognise them because you might have spotted them on the stage, but maybe you wouldn't, and they just had to like walk down this massive line of people like, I'm just going home to from my job. Nobody wants my autograph.
I still think that we got, but I mean, even to be like, if you weren't Idina Menzel or weren't playing one of the key parts in this, I would love to hear from some of the people who were in this. If you were in this, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, because I wonder what that vibe was like, because you were part of the it thing. Like, there are many stage doors in London that no one really necessarily cares about. But this one, just by Victoria, was absolutely besieged.
Oh, yeah. I think I have a photo with the guy who played Dr. Dillerman.
Yep, you will have done. Yep.
Why?
I'm sure I took it. In fact, such was our level of obsession that I am positive that we went, not once, but probably twice, to the stage door when we hadn't even seen the show. We were just like in London and thought, why don't we catch the stage door?
We definitely did that. I had not thought about that in years.
Yes. Oh, many of these things are going to resurface over the years. But I also think, and this is maybe a small point, but I thought about it today, that the theatre that it is in, and it's still in, which is the Apollo Victoria, is in itself part of the experience of this show, because it's enormous.
It is gorgeous.
Now, people who are real theatre buffs, Mads, you might know the answer to this. Is it the biggest theatre in London? Because I'm tempted to say that it's
not,
one of them.
because I recently went to We Will Rock You at the Dominion, and I'm pretty certain
Coliseum. Was it the Coliseum?
The Dominion. If
it was a big one.
We'll edit this. The Dominion, I think. And I looked it up, and it was the biggest. But I think the Apollo Victoria might be the second biggest.
It felt huge.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing Wicked wasn't the first time I had been in there. It was I had gone to see Starlight Express as, I don't know, like a 6-year-old or something. I remember my mind being blown then. But taking your seats for this show, you really get the sense of, oh my, this is a blockbuster.
Yeah.
You can tell. And it lives up to that from the stagecraft in this, with the dragon that's on flight, the fact that Elphaba flies on the broomstick. That's special effects, the monkeys, the production. It felt Hollywood almost, this show, but not empty Hollywood, not one of those large-scale blockbuster movies with no heart. I think the trick that it manages to pull off is it's absolutely bedazzling, and yet it has all these nice intimate moments and this lovely script, and it does dovetail with another obsession of ours. Am I right in thinking Winnie Holtzman wrote My So-Called Life?
She did.
Okay, let's just briefly nod at that, because we'll talk about that on another podcast. But it's not a sung-through musical. It has a balance between the songs and the script. And the script itself is also fantastic.
Yeah.
And Winnie Holtzman had written a short-lived television programme in the 90s. So she's managed to have big hits in the 90s and the noughties, of which Madeline and I are both enormous fans, called My So-Called Life. Another teen drama, very, very witty, heartfelt, emotion-led script. So this production was always in good hands right from the beginning.
You can tell that she just understands, she understands teenagers, she understands like genuine emotion over kind of showy emotion. Like she clearly has something right in her way of writing those kinds of stories.
100%. Do you remember seeing it thinking, oh my goodness, that moment of special effect, or that visually startling moment, or not so much, you were just overtaken by the whole story?
Yeah, I think it was more the story and the music over the visuals are obviously incredible, but genuinely the things that blew me away were the emotion of the story and the emotion of the music.
Yeah. Which is why listening to just the soundtrack is good. Even when you went dun, 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 I thought, oh, I've got chills. Oh my goodness. Brief nod to, not to ignore it at all, because this is obviously the genesis of the whole project. Wicked itself is a book by Gregory Maguire.
Yep.
The musical, so you've got the book based off of the Wizard of Oz, and then you've got Wicked the musical based off of Gregory Maguire's Wicked, the book, which Mads has read.
Yeah, I mean, I read it back in the Wicked obsession phase, so as a teenager, and didn't come back to it. It is extremely different, the musical, in tone, in story. The concept is there. But what I think is brilliant about the musical is they took this concept and said, okay, what's going to work on stage?
Yes.
And then really veered away from, the tone is the main big difference. So Wicked, the book, is much darker. It's much more adult. It's quite it's almost like uses kind of almost like grotesque things and sex in a kind of like nasty way, like almost to, it felt like it was trying to be adult just to be adult and to be dark and to be, and actually I would say the focus is not the female friendship. It's trying to really dig into how does somebody become evil, and she really does become evil, whereas in Wicked you can't really say that she becomes wicked. She finds herself and she does what she thinks is right, but in the book she really does become a nasty person, and I think that's why it's not that enjoyable, because you don't like her at all, and that is so different from the musical. So I think what's the genius is that they took this concept and they noticed some really key, interesting elements in it, pulled it away from that, and said what's going to work for a big blockbuster stage musical that really like pulls on your heartstrings.
Which is not uncommon for, I mean, please find me the person who prefers, sorry Victor Hugo, but Les Mis the book.
Yeah, true.
Versus, or let's not even talk about Phantom. But this is one of those brilliantly executed book to stage adaptations. I didn't read the book because that was your summary reaction to me, and I thought, nope, not for me. Just not for me at all. Before we go through some of our categories, we've praised it to the hilt. And I've written the question here, do you think it has any flaws? Could it be improved? But I want to contextualise that by saying, I ask it because the film or films are in production. We know we're getting the first instalment of the film in 2024. We're getting the next one in 2025. So it does have they are clearly going to add material. They're clearly going to be longer. I know you and I are both sceptical about how good they're going to be, but is there anything in the musical that you thought, okay, well, this could be the moment to change that? I don't like that bit in the musical.
I think, having seen it more recently, something that didn't hit me the first times round, but does more, is the whole character of Nessa Rose. She's Elphaba's sister, so in the Wizard of Oz context, is the witch who is
of the East, the Wicked Witch of the East,
who is killed by Dorothy's house landing on her. And she has the slipper that Dorothy, the slippers that Dorothy takes. But in the musical, she grows up in a wheelchair. But obviously later on, she has to put the slippers on to, and that allows her to walk again, which is kind of played as this like big moment of kind of triumph, and also means that it's a kind of representation of, it kind of means two things. It means it's a representation of somebody with a disability that has to be played by someone who is not disabled in that way, right? It has to be played by somebody who can walk, because at some point they have to walk.
That's so true.
And it also kind of doesn't celebrate her as a wheelchair user. It sees like being able to walk again as like the ultimate victory, which for most wheelchair users is like never something they'll be able to achieve. And so it's a slightly strange storyline. And yet when you look at it like that,
it doesn't give her happiness, does it? She achieves the ability to walk, and it at the same time destroys her relationship with Bok.
Yeah, it's true.
Gosh, I hadn't thought how much, you are so right. If they can mine the Nessa storyline a bit more, there's a lot there.
Yeah, it could be done in an interesting way, and I think so you can't really quite get to grips with it in the musical because it's so short.
There's just not time. You're right, because there's sibling rivalry in there. There's rivalry about one of them has actual magical powers, one has political power. I think Nessa goes on to be the governor of Munchkinland or something like that. There's her relationship with Bok, who becomes the Tin Man.
Who originally loved her, but...
Oh, yes, okay, they need to do more with that.
Yeah.
I was just going to go down I don't think the repression of the animals storyline really has room to breathe. But perhaps I care about that less than on reflection than Nessa.
Well, no, I think that's quite a powerful part of the storyline for me in Wicked. I think they do it well. But maybe you're right. Maybe if you've got the time and movies, you could do even more with it.
Yeah. So there's nothing we would take out. We're almost saying we want more.
Well, maybe, but also I am generally very sceptical of the pacing of how you would do it in two movies. I guess we talked about how the first half is at university and the second half is about adulthood, so there is a natural split into two movies. But are they going to write more songs? Otherwise, there's just going to be like half as many songs. Anyway, I'm worried about pacing. I'm worried about studios trying to pull more money out of, a franchise that they have access to and it not ending up being good. Because pacing in a musical matters a lot.
I completely agree. And especially if, those songs are designed in such a way to take you on a journey where you get to the interval, but you're immediately going to sit back down and get Act 2.
And get to see more.
I'm not sure I can leave View Cinemas or the IMAX or wherever we go to see this on Defying Gravity and know that I don't get Act 2 until next year. That'll be extremely upsetting. But I also know it does leave the potential for you and I, when the films are released to some sort of streaming service, to have a all-night Wicked, both musicals marathon, which we will definitely do.
And To put some excitement back into the idea of the movies, I'm very excited about the casting. I actually think Ariana Grande is going to be incredible.
Yes.
Because she has an amazing voice. She's done a lot of musical theatre. If you've only heard her pop music and you don't know that, then go look up her in Hairspray. Go look up her singing The Wizard and I herself, even though she's not going to be playing Elphaba. But she is an incredible musical theatre performer and has performed in shows her whole life. I think she's going to be great. And then Cynthia Erivo is just an absolute powerhouse of musical theatre. Her voice is huge and she will just smash Elphaba. So that bit I'm excited about.
Do you know who is playing Fiyero?
No.
So I didn't until I looked this up earlier. But you're going to have a better frame of reference here than I do, because it's that guy from Bridgerton.
Oh no, I think I did know this. Is it Jonathan Bailey?
It is Jonathan Bailey.
He's slightly older, but then so is Cynthia Erivo, so maybe that makes sense.
And then I got distracted because I got very excited that Jeff Goldblum is playing the wizard, and I just think that's going to be brilliant.
Incredible. Yes. So at least one department is doing their job right, and that is casting.
Well done, casting. Well done, casting. Okay, so we should move on to our set categories that we do. That we do every time. I'm so excited. I've deliberately left some things out of our discussion so that we can talk about them here. So our first one is, and we should explain this, the thermometer, the spice level, the hotness level of anything that we discuss on this podcast. Was there a romantic narrative in it? Did it inspire romantic reaction from us? Was it part of anything to do with, I don't know, just what was the hotness level?
Well, if we're doing it on thermometer levels, so out of like 100 degrees hotness,
we are.
I'm going to put it at a strong 60 degrees.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Because
explain.
I think as a teenager, and I know this is going to be obviously the moment that you think I'm going to talk about, As Long As You're Mine was just captivating. Your like whole body while you're watching them sing that song together is just taken in to this like, it's like sexual tension, but it's also like emotionally like really connected. They're just like the two of them like sitting on stage together, and it's so simple, and the tension of those two characters. And it's not just about their relationship, it's also about Elphaba like finding herself in that moment, and like it's the first time she is wicked. Like it is her finding who she is, and that like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable.
I thought that song was so hot. I'm glad you went there when I was waiting for your answer about the thermometer level, because you could, if you just looked at Wicked the musical objectively, and we should say for the record, there's no explicit material in it. There's no sex. There's no nudity.
No.
There's not in the musical. In the book, yes,
Yes,
but not in the musical. There is the implication very, very lightly of that sort of thing in As Long As You're Mine. And yet, this musical was really hot to me.
yeah.
That song in particular, and they literally are. This is in Act 2. This is the two romantic leads kind of playing against each other. And we had both said that actually Fiero's character is downplayed, but they get to have this moment.
Yes.
His voice is still dominated by hers, which I also love in a romantic context. She gets the better notes. She gets the slightly fancier part. And yet it also balances out in their lovely harmonies. But they are literally, and this is where production comes in, it was staged in such a way and directed in such a way, and it was replicated this way across almost all the global productions. They are holding each other on the stage. There's smoke machines going on. There's kind of sexy lighting. I can see it now. They're in some sort of marsh.
I mean, the lyrics are sexy.
The lyrics are sexy.
It's like, I mean, it's
a
not
hot
explicit,
song.
but it's almost explicit.
I think if another time we did as a bonus episode sort of a musicals deep dive and we looked at like top 5 or top 3 hottest songs, this would probably be a contender. I mean, we'll have to talk about Phantom another time.
Oh, yeah.
But this would be up there.
And I think what's interesting is that, you know, it's not that we're obsessed with Fiero that makes it hot. It is the scenario. It is wanting to be Elphaba. It is like this just like having that control in that moment. And yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, most of the time when we would put a high rating on the thermometer, it's going to be because there's some guy that we are really obsessed with, or maybe even a couple of guys that we can like battle out and be obsessed with.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here.
No.
So yeah, it's very impressive.
No, it's and you're so I could not. I would struggle to remember. Like, yeah, the Fiyero character really did nothing for me. I loved Idina Menzel.
Yes.
And Elphaba, and so that was it for me. Not Fiero's participation. Sorry, Fiero. It wasn't about you, mate.
No.
But that song is one of the best.
And I mean, Idina Menzel is still to this day a gay icon. Like, she is hot. And she is an obsession
100%.
in, like, just her presence and her voice and her... Yeah, she's incredible. And I think that just adds to that, like, the incredible, sexiness of that song.
Even in the subtlety of the costuming, in Act 2, do you remember Elphaba gets sort of a glow-up? This isn't the Glinda-led popular glow-up.
No.
She's in that, like, cool... Her costume changes.
She's the the sexy version of the Wicked Witch of the
West. Sexy Elphaba in the second half. And I was totally here for it. It was that show was, and I think wider than that, it did tap into teenage frustrated. It was hormonal. Yeah. Definitely the first half.
Yeah.
I'm Not That Girl, such an iconic song, and then the refrain when Glinda sings it as well. Thermometer, I'm gonna agree with you. I'd have put it somewhere between 60 and 70%, and not one of those ones where we're really simping over one particular person. It was more than that. Okay, next category is the level of badassery that this contains. How badass is Wicked?
Interesting. I don't think I'd immediately categorize it as like super badass, but there are moments. There are, like, you know, it's almost implied that there's like a battle going on in the universe. So I would maybe say that it's like maybe a 4 out of 10 on the badassness. It's like got some stuff, but that's not the focus of what the show's about.
I'm going to put it slightly higher.
Okay.
At 6.
Okay.
Because the badassery was, Elphaba and Glinda kind of breaking free from the structures that they'd been boxed into and, like, entering into their own power. But it's also interesting to think about what it chooses, I think quite rightly, to exclude, because it could have got very silly. So you don't see... This isn't Harry Potter. You don't see spellmanship. You don't see them... Even though this is about witches, they're not really kind of tossing curses at each other, or there's not sparks flying around from wands. But where it does choose to have moments, they are fab, and almost the lack of them makes them better. So there are 1 or 2 moments where something, I think, floats. I think it's the Grimmery at one point that floats in. Or you see Elphaba use some magic accidentally, and you think, oh, wow, I forgot that that's what's going on here. And that moment when she goes up on the broom...
Yeah.
In Defying Gravity.
It is badass.
It is so badass.
Yeah.
It is the equivalent, it is the musical theatre equivalent to me of the Legolas reverse horse grab. The thing where he flies up onto the horse and you just think, I need to just rewind that and watch that again.
Yeah.
You can't in the show.
You know what? I will rewind
badass.
and watch the Tony Awards performance of Idina Menzel doing Defying Gravity has been watched on my YouTube definitely over 200 times.
100%. That is iconic.
So great.
And it's not, we have to say, it's not even her best vocal at that point.
No, true, she was a bit sick.
She's a little bit sick, but
She still sounds amazing.
but the badassery level was, I thought, pretty high. And then, fangirl fuel. So this category is about, how much fuel for the tank was there in terms of, and we should say, Maddie and I have the potential to be obsessive beyond obsessive. We are fangirls to the limit. Like, we will, if there's the material to run with, we will lap it up. So how much kind of geekery was there around Wicked that we seized upon?
At first I thought it was low, and then I rethought it in my mind, and I realised, no, it was big.
Yeah, it's high.
I think it was high. I'm going to put it at a 3/4 full tank here. We had like, you could buy the book, which like had the whole script in it with all the history of everything that like were put into the production. We were able to go multiple times. We were able to collect the signatures. We were able to like watch all the stuff on YouTube. Like there was a lot to delve into. I even read the book.
That's
Whether that
dedicated.
counts.
It does.
There was actually a lot. And I think the fact that you could go back again and again and again was another part of it. And it's always different. It's not like going to see a movie multiple times. A live theatre experience is just a different level of fangirl fuel, because every time you know, you're going to have a different connection with the performers on the stage. And that's why I love live shows so much. And I think that adds to that fuel.
Didn't you also go multiple times and deliberately sit in, you had almost like tested different seats in
That
the
sounds
Apollo
like me.
Victoria?
I'm pretty sure in the 4 months that Idina Menzel was in London, I saw it 4 times.
Yeah, I've been to this show so many times. The fangirl fuel for me, I agree, is high. And yet, it's hard to explain why, but this captivated us. And there was material upon material to get into. We bought the... you and I had the musical score that we could play on the piano.
Yeah.
It should be said, this also hit at the time when we were so into musicals so Maddie and I twisted the arm of basically the senior leadership team at our school and said, look, we're not going to leave you alone until you let us do a full-scale musical variety performance. We'll direct it, don't worry. You don't have to do anything. Just let us use like the hall, the auditorium.
I definitely dropped a grade in my art GCSE because I spent my time rehearsing for this show rather than doing my paintings.
It was worth it. It was called CHS Broadway, and we still talk about it as this thing of legend. We're the only people that do. Everyone else has forgotten it.
No,
but it was true. It was that time. It was that Wicked was the thing that got people really excited about musicals again. And it had, you're right, the book, we can't end this podcast without talking about the level of merch that you and I invested in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I had the wand. There was a wand.
It was obviously t-shirts. Oh no, we each had a wand each.
We did, didn't we?
But I think you had Elphabas and I had Glinda's.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the green one.
Because I've still got the pink one somewhere.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And we even, I mean, this also, it was that kind of moment where it had infiltrated popular culture, dress-up culture, like, I'm not cool now, so when kids show up at my house for Halloween and they have to explain to me that they're dressed as, like, something from Squid Games, and I'm just like, I'm not cool anymore. But that year, I mean, everyone went. We went for Halloween. I was painted green.
Yep. Yeah, and
fully
I
green.
Curled my hair and put on a pink crown and big ball gown.
I genuinely thought, we're so cool.
To be fair, when I look back at those pictures, I think, that looks fun. We look amazing.
Yes, and we did. And I made it the theme of my 16th birthday that only very limited people came to. But it really was. You don't remember that?
I do remember that. I'm just thinking that everybody dressed up. Everybody was into it. I don't think that... Good. I think it was great.
Okay. Maybe it's just because we just invited the people we knew would be into it. Anyone who would have cast judgment just was like...
Not invited.
Not invited. But, you know, there was absolutely the fuel for us to be obsessive about this, to keep being obsessive about it. For me, it is the thing where I have brought every boyfriend of mine to see it.
Yeah.
It's almost like the requirement to be my friend or to be in a relationship with me. I just have to road test, like, sit here for 2.5 hours. Let me look at your reaction.
If you don't enjoy it,
what is wrong with you?
There is a problem.
There is a problem. Are you dead inside?
Yes.
and then I want hours of chat afterwards. I want to listen to the CD in the car afterwards. And that's really the measure of our friendship. So, on that note, we should turn to our fangirl news.
Oh.
And I know that you have news.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
What news do I have?
Because it happened to you during the week. Mads has got, and feel free everyone to message her, has got Taylor Swift tickets.
This was only years say, I shouldn't put this on a podcast because if my work finds out how many hours my laptop was sitting next to me, next to my work laptop was my home laptop, and I was just there in this queue for so many hours. And not only that, the whole system has been completely insane. I actually was only able to do it because my friend Johnny, who got married on Saturday, he was the only one of our group of friends who wanted to go, who managed to get randomly allocated a pre-sale ticket code, which you had to have to even try and get tickets. So we got one code between all of us, and he just got married, so absolutely was not going to spend his first Monday married on his laptop all day. So I had his Ticketmaster login details, I had his address, his credit card details. I was Johnny for the day. And we had 3 attempts all day to try and get tickets. One at 11 a.m. for the Friday show, one at 1 p.m. for the Saturday show, and one at 3 p.m. for the Sunday show. And finally, at 3:45, we got tickets for the Sunday night in Edinburgh show.
The hysteria around this has not gone unnoticed. And I think just purely based on the other things that I engage with, all my social media algorithms think I'm a Swiftie.
Yeah.
So, and I like her, but I like her I would say a normal amount.
A normal amount.
I went to see the Reputation tour. I thought it was awesome. But I was aware there was something going on with these tickets that was like a Glastonbury level style event.
Yeah.
I then asked you last week, just casually, like, oh, Matt, shall we think about getting these tickets? And you just straight away were like, nope, you missed it.
Yeah.
You weren't ready. No.
The wait list was weeks ago.
Yep, so I was not organised, so I'm not going. But Maddie and her chosen people will be going.
Well,
to see
you know
Taylor
what?
Swift.
The real Swiftie in my household is my husband, Ben. He is completely obsessed. So
Did you ring him straight away? How did you tell him?
He was in Glasgow at a workshop all day, so didn't get to find out until he got home from Glasgow.
Did you meet him at the door like, oh, I've got Taylor Swift tickets? He's like, thank you.
Yeah, we did spend a little over budget, but it's fine.
Well, that would be a fantastic novelty podcast episode. When you've been to see that, you should do that episode with Ben as a special guest.
Yes.
For all the Swifties out there, I will officially resign my seat temporarily for the two of you, because you're right, he's the authority on that. And on that note, we will bid you all a musical farewell. Good night. We are going to go and get in our bubbles. Good night. Bye.